Good day everyone and welcome back. So today I feel like switching things up a little bit. So we're going to be reading some MAGA stories and the likes. So let's get into it. Starting off with r/entitled parents. The first story, my dad thinks Democrats want to kill him. Yeah, definitely not deep in QAnon or anything. Warning, this is gonna get political, obviously. I wanted to post this on r/insane parents, but I don't have any images to go with it, so hopefully it's fine here. First off, a little bit of background. My dad has been biased in favour of Republicans for as long as I can remember. Admitted he's only voted for Republicans since he started voting because he never trusted Democrats. I assume he was indoctrinated by Rush Limbaugh before I was born, since he also indoctrinated me with Rush when I was a politically ignorant teenager in 2016. And before that, he would always angrily rant about Obama. Typical conservative stuff so far, right? But in recent years, he's gone off the deep end, believing more and more conspiracy theories like the Earth actually being flat and Michelle Obama secretly being a man. Yeah, flat earthers and MAGA, they seem about on the same level of intelligence, so really not surprising that they share the same BS beliefs. And while I've stopped supporting Trump, my dad has doubled and tripled down on his support of the con, wearing fucking MAGA hats in public almost every day. Probably wanting to wear them to own the libs or something. Yeah, really good job just making yourself look, very silly. I should also mention that a while ago, I made the mistake of telling my dad that I thought Biden was the lesser evil in this election. My dad was flabbergasted, going, you think he's the lesser evil? And treating me like an idiot because I disagree with him politically. And now we flash forward to a couple of days ago. Me and my dad are in the car on the way to the grocery store, and he decides to start yelling at me about politics. He starts going off about how Democrats want to kill every single Republican. He actually fucking believes this. When I tried to tell him he was likely believing fear-mongering propaganda, he interrupts yelling, "No, it's true. They want to kill us. They want to kill us." Yeah, definitely not unhinged or anything. I mean, I know a lot of left-leaning people and a lot of Democrats, and I don't think I've ever seen one that wishes death upon the opposition. I think what most people wish is just for people not to listen to the very obvious propaganda and maybe do their research before they vote, so they don't vote for multi-billionaire nepo baby fraudulent man-child. Nothing about wishing death upon them, though. Since appealing to reason didn't work, I tried to tell my dad there are radical elements of both sides, because I assumed he thought some random online represents the entire Democrat Party for some reason. Ah yeah, Republican cherry picking. No surprise. I told him that there's Nazis on the right, and he starts yelling again. "I know that's bullshit! That's bullshit!" Just refusing to listen to me at all. I told my dad he was acting like he was in a cult, and he instantly yells, "No, you're in a cult!" Because not thinking everyone to the left of Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump is gonna kill me makes me a cult member. Keep in mind, he's yelling all this shit at me while wearing his MAGA hat, by the way. I tell my dad I don't want to talk to him about politics, and he laughs and grabs me on my shoulder roughly. We don't talk about it for the rest of the day, and I know he won't anymore, but it makes me uncomfortable while we're at the grocery store, and he keeps treating me like I'm the dumbest motherfucker in the world because I don't think Donald Trump is the greatest president in recent history and America's savior. It's at the point where I'm afraid to vote for Democrats because I'm scared of what my dad would do to me. I remember back when I voted in 2020, after my dad asked me who I voted for. I was still indoctrinated back then, so I voted Trump. One of my biggest regrets of my life. I told him this, and he said something like, "I know, 'cause I watched you." I don't know the exact wording, but it was basically that. I confronted him about it years later, and he says that he didn't. But I still remember what he said before. He shouldn't be allowed to do that, but I feel like he will anyway. Sorry if this came off unorganized. I normally don't write stuff like this on Reddit, but this has kept bothering me since it happened, and I wanted to talk about it, since I couldn't find anyone else online who had to deal with this specific level of deranged politics from their dad. There's more I could talk about, but I don't want it to be this long. I just feel trapped here with my MAGA dad, and it's giving me this sense of unease. And it hurts to know how far gone he is, cause up until now, I still had a little hope that he could get out of this. But now it's pretty obvious that he won't, and leaving in the near future is unlikely. I'm a high school dropout who can't drive. I won't get into that though, cause it's personal. Just know there aren't many opportunities for me to leave, at least in the near future, so I don't really know what to do. Well, wow. Yeah, slightly unhinged. I mean, by the sounds of it, there's more to that than just him being some MAGA cultist who's gone down the wrong pipeline. I've seen a lot of MAGA, and it's quite easy to tell who's willing and incredibly unwilling to actually change their minds. And that guy, I'm pretty confident there isn't a chance with him. And obviously, despite OP's living situation, my honest best bet would be to try and get out of Dodge as quickly as you could. But I'm rather glad that OP was actually able to get out of that echo chamber and formulate an opinion of their own, and not take after their father and go down that MAGA pipeline. At this point, it's more than just a political belief, it is a genuine cult. Here's a comment by Tyre Kovacs. My advice, for what it's worth. Anytime he yells like that, stay very calm and just stare at him quietly. Follow up with a calm, "Dad, you're being very emotional right now, and you're being hysterical in public, and are you okay? Do you need a drink of water?" In general, maintain an air of a casual disinterest, like, "Oh, you really care about that? I mean, I suppose we can talk about it if you want." If you're less invested than he is in the conversation, you can just control the flow of it. If you're less emotional than he is, he's the one being a triggered snowflake that can't get a grip. Yeah, for the political party that likes to call people on the left snowflakes, they really seem to get triggered by a lot of things. That kind of interpersonal casual shaming has been moderately to highly effective in my experience. It takes a lot of effort to maintain an argument with someone who doesn't care about what you're saying, and a lot of people give up pretty quickly. Here's the issue with dealing with a lot of these people. There's no real point arguing with them, because yeah, they don't care about your perspective, and they're just trying to reinforce their own cult-like beliefs. It's more like dealing with an unapologetic narcissist than trying to have a reasonable political debate. People can have opinions and perspectives, but I wouldn't say it's really worth discussing it, if they're just never going to change their perspective on it. That's not a debate. That's two people yelling at each other because one of them's on a hill that they won't step off of. The next post is from QAnon Casualties. I ended a friendship of 24 years over Trump. My best friend and I met in 2001. He was never really interested in politics until last year, when he started dropping hints that he was drifting to the right. You can probably thank Musk's Twitter, Fox News, and Newsmax for that. Because, in 2023 and 24, they really started ramping up the propaganda. He eventually told me that he was going to vote for Trump. I decided that if I couldn't steer him away, I'd cut ties. I told him about all the reprehensible things he did and the various ways he violated the principles my friend claimed to have. He never cared, and brushed all of my criticisms aside, while making a huge deal over every little thing Democrats did. The last straw came in February. My friend had always been a big cop fan. He was a cop in the military, and always wears this thin blue line flag. I told him that Trump had pardoned 600 people who assaulted police officers on January 6th, and he straight up did not care. He got so angry when he heard Biden say something about Americans not being special, but couldn't care less that Trump pardoned hundreds of people that assaulted the people that he has ardently supported his entire life. I lost all respect for him right there. And in August, I decided to do the hard thing and just cut ties with him. And I haven't looked back. I'll just never understand why these people worship Trump. They're incapable of thinking a single negative thought about him or criticizing him in any way. And something that's really interesting with them is the whole rules for thee but not for me. You know, the Democrats may do something that's bad. Yeah. Yes, Democrats also do bad things. But then if Republicans do the exact thing, or the exact thing but worse, suddenly it's okay? It's because these people don't really have a moral compass or opinions. Their entire belief system is just trying to justify, again, this cult. It's to a point where it's not a political belief. It's simply just a cult. The next post is from r/complaints. I got this message from a MAGA friend. The man I voted for 3 times has delivered the following in 11 months. Groceries, highest ever. Housing, still unaffordable. Farmers are going broke because of the tariffs. Anti-Semitism and race relations are the worst in 60 years. I mean, what did you expect voting for the party of bigots and racists? My health insurance doubled. Yes, the candidate that said that they were going to get rid of Obamacare and Project 2025, which half the country was warning you was going to go through, was in fact going through. The VP whom I loved will not disavow the actual neo-Nazis. Well, yeah, they don't want to lose some of their voter base. Tucker Carlson, someone I used to watch on Fox and love, is openly platforming and praising neo-Nazis. And the Christo-fascists, openly promoting misogyny and cheering them to take away women's right to vote. Trump and Vance are not only denouncing them, they're platforming them. In protest tomorrow, I'll be voting straight blue. If it's taken me this long to wake up, I know others are too, you know? Been voting all my life, voting for the GOP. I have yet to see anything like it. This is crazy. We've become Nazi Germany. Yes, your country's become fascist. Like half the country, and to be honest, a solid chunk of the planet was screaming and warning you about. But like so much of the voter base, you decided to stick your head in the sand and essentially go la la la, I can't hear you, and trust very obvious entertainment news propaganda networks over actual facts, actual studies, and the history of the person that you are voting for. This comment is from Separate Custard 754. Your friend is still a fucking idiot for failing an open book test. As apparently did a lot of people who applied to ICE. Well, yeah, they just want the stupidest, most complacent and scummiest people. They don't actually care really about who they hire. They just want scumbags who will do what they say. I assume the ICE entrance exam is just to verify you're not colorblind so you don't accidentally snatch a wine. If you pass, they give you the gun and tell you to, I don't know, just do your thing, lol. I read an article from a small town in Colorado where people had surrounded an ICE facility to prevent them from transporting out a 9-year-old, 14-year-old, and their father who had all filed the proper paperwork for asylum and are legally residing in the US. Yeah, really only deporting the criminals and thugs of the world and not innocent people. Yeah, definitely. And you hear the cries of MAGA saying, I only voted to get rid of the criminals, but couldn't understand that during the election, yes, mass deportations meant mass deportations. They were warned, they were told that this was going to happen, and they still voted for it. At the very least, they are complacent, but most likely maliciously ignoring fact for their own self-centric or bigoted beliefs. Protesters locked arms and legs and sat in front of the entrances. One woman was filming with her phone, and an ICE agent threw it across the road and then grabbed her by her hair and threw her to the ground and kicked her. Yeah, really meant to protect and serve. Another woman was wearing goggles to prevent pepper spray from going in her eyes while she sat on the ground. An agent pulled the goggles off and sprayed her in the eyes from point blank. Another protester gave her a second set of goggles, and the agents pulled them off again and sprayed her some more. She was then handed a third pair of goggles, so the agent began to spray her directly in the crotch so that the pepper spray would soak through her clothes onto her. Jesus Christ. I've heard horror stories of police brutality, and especially ICE brutality, but the fact that these guys have been able to get to this level with near to no pushback is actually insane. This town has a population of less than 20,000. In the pictures, ICE agents had AR-15s with suppressors, infrared lasers and illuminators for night vision, ballistic plates and helmets with top-of-the-line pelticons. LARP operators blasting peaceful protesters with pepper spray in small tourist towns. And we're not even 1 year in. Yeah, Jesus Christ. And one thing that concerns me is this really screams to me the activity of a regime who's not gonna be willing to give up their power. Because, I mean, a lot of presidents have done illegal shit, but they try and hide it. What's scarier is presidents doing a lot of illegal shit, and basically just being open and proud about it. That's telling me that, 3 years from now when there's another election, they're not really going to be willing to give up power, are they? The next post is from r/complaints. But before we get into this next post, I just want to say, if you enjoy this gay guy reading stuff, you should totally like, subscribe and share, because it really does help. Anyways, thanks for watching, and back to the video. Being a MAGA is a deal breaker. With how far along MAGA's gone, yeah, I wouldn't date a MAGA either. A lot of men seem genuinely confused about why dating feels harder for them, while loudly aligning with the politics that undermine women's rights and autonomy. That disconnect is the problem. For most women, politics aren't just opinions, they're a reflection of values and empathy. When someone supports movements that trivialize women's safety or agency, it's really not surprising that women lose interest. That isn't intolerance, it's discernment. A teaspoon of perspective would solve so much on this. Just stopping to ask, how does this affect women? Before doubling down would change their entire social reality. Instead, they choose grievance and then act confused when no one wants to date them. I'm not physically attractive, and I have no education or skills to help provide for you, but I expect you to work full-time, clean the house, cook, raise the children, wait on me hand and foot, and stay in shape. I'm also racist and want our federal government to codify your status as a second-class citizen. Girls just hate nice guys, I guess. Yeah, again, in this day and age, why would anyone want to date someone who expects that from their partner? That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Go figure out. No one is lining up to be someone's sex maid. This is why extreme patriarchal societies have arranged, also known as forced, marriages, so that men who would otherwise never find a wife can get married. I never thought of it this way. Whenever I see a right-winger lamenting the freedom of left-leaning women, especially self-expression like hair, tattoos and piercings, and the lack of trad women, all I see is a weak man who can't handle a woman with agency. Yeah, that's about right for conservative beliefs. They really, really hate the concept of their prospective partners being independent, because that's another thing with conservatives. They like the control. The next post is from QAnon Casualties from Meeson Salmon 444. My dad chose politics over his daughter. Talk about scumbag families this episode. Jesus. I was trying to have a civil conversation about the ICE operation happening in Minnesota. Oh, that's a recipe for disaster. I really don't know why they're still, even now, trying so hard to adamantly defend basically the new Gestapo. Disappearing people without due process really sounds something that would happen in a democratic first world country. Definitely no problems at all. And my dad went on a rampage and ended up calling me a dumb liberal. He told me to return the car that he gave me as a teenager 6 years ago. One of these people. People that give gifts but act like they still have a right to them after gifting. Talk about another level of entitled. If I think I'm so much smarter and righteous. All I said was that I was not dumb for having a different opinion, and that I was his daughter trying to have a conversation with him, but he continues to break my heart each time I try to understand him. I blocked him after a few more insults about how I'm just like my mother, and that I'm ungrateful and a liberal, blah blah blah. He then screenshotted our conversation and put me on blast in his family group chat with his wife and my stepsisters. That I'm not in, of course. I returned the car he gave me the same day, so that he can't hold anything against me anymore. I haven't heard anything from neither of them since. It's probably the most soul-crushing feeling knowing that your parent doesn't love you anymore and chose their political belief over you. I mean, OP, at that point, if they're willing to justify illegal actions and proceeds to try and take things from you because of their political belief, it's more than just their political belief. I hate that no matter how much family and friends I have, how much love and validation I get from them, I look in the mirror and still see my dad. I am a spitting image of him, and I won't ever understand why I'll never be enough. I know that I don't need his approval, and I have other people who love me that will fill that void. But it will haunt me for the rest of my life that I wasn't good enough for him to love. His own daughter, his one and only child. It's not your fault that he's decided to become some MAGA cultist. Don't blame yourself for his own stubbornness, political narcissism, and general lack of respect for everyone around him. If he doesn't respect you enough to allow you to have your own beliefs and opinions, he's not someone you should feel bad for cutting him off. The next comment is from Denver Gothmum. You're not good enough for him to love. He just sucks. Seriously. Don't internalize this. There's nothing bad people hate more than having genuinely good people around, because it forces them to see how short they've fallen. A good, or even good enough dad would be so proud of you. There's no such thing as a civil conversation about politics with a MAGA. It always turns into a rant, a fight, and some sort of name-calling. It's not you, it's narcissism. MAGA and Q seems to make narcs out of people what were maybe only a bit self-centered. It makes idiots out of gullible people. You do what you can to process this hurt. Make a found family. Go to therapy. Acknowledge that the person that you loved is gone and to mourn him. It doesn't fully heal, and there are cuts and bruises along the way, but it does get easier to live with. The next story is from About Time. I left my husband partly due to his QAnon beliefs. Good for you. Hi, I've been married 32 years and have been unhappy for the last 10. My husband made a bad decision that affected the family and changed it forever. I stayed with him due to him being suicidal, and at the time our teenage daughter was having mental issues. However, my daughter is now 29, married with a baby, and doing well. Except for her anti-vax stance that my husband supports. Ooh, that's not good. Another thing with having people like that around is that especially when raising kids, those bad and dangerous BS beliefs can rub off on them. And especially with anti-vax, it's a real dangerous recipe. About 6 weeks ago, though, I told my husband that I want a divorce. I'm a liberal, and my husband is a Trump supporter. He believes Obama isn't a US citizen, that Michelle Obama is a man, that Oprah and Tom Hanks traffic minors, that mainstream media lies out of their arse, and that Google's full of shit. Believes Big Pharma is behind the vaccines and out to make money and are lying to us about how dangerous they are. These beliefs have put a nail in the coffin of how I feel about staying married to him. Now that I've left, he's saying that it doesn't matter what we believe, that politics shouldn't come between our marriage. But how the hell can I stay married to someone who believes this shit? Well, here's the thing, you shouldn't have to. And especially with fucking anti-vax, having someone like that around trying to spread those beliefs to other people, and your daughter, can actually cause harm. And things like saying Obama's not a US citizen, Michelle Obama's a man, at least coming from me, indicates that there's a lot of underlying bigotry that maybe isn't being addressed, and something that he probably will never address. And if you're not comfortable with being married to a bigot, there's no reason you should stay with him. This next comment is from OKAL5549. I'd leave him too. He's lost his grasp on reality. My husband has some weird friend who loves Trump. She honestly believes that the government clones 3 separate Trumps. What the fuck? I've heard some crazy MAGA conspiracies, but that's gotta be one of the top ones. Cloned Trumps are the ones that say such unhinged things. The clones only have a lifespan of 3 years. I swear that she believes this. She won't say who taught her this, though. And she's trying to get my husband to see the truth. Oof, I pity her. I mean, I've heard the American education system's not the best, but Jesus fucking Christ. This is a new level of crazy that I'm grateful to have not yet encountered. I don't even know what to say. I mean, there's not much to say. A lot of MAGA's crazy. That's the last pretty damn unhinged post that I'm going to read for today. If you guys have got any comments or suggestions, let me know down below. And also, like and subscribe, and also share, because, I mean, it helps a lot. Anyways, thanks for watching, and see you later.